ICE targets immigrants with criminal records. We found these arrests are increasing nationwide.
This comes after a recent federal operation nabbed more than 1,500 criminals, including gang members, sexual predators, and convicted felons.
So, just when everyone thought Harris County couldn't get any worse when it comes to illegal immigration, ICE just dropped a bombshell that changed everything. 4 illegal migrants were just arrested in a coordinated raid. But here's the thing. These weren't just random undocumented individuals trying to stay under the radar. They were directly connected to what investigators are now calling one of the most sophisticated criminal rings operating inside Harris County.
The sheriff's office and Perry police netted several drug arrests after executing multiple search warrants throughout the county. During the search, investigators say they seized more than 2 kilograms of meth, plus marijuana, Xanax, 3 firearms, and money. Law enforcement arrested Alicia Marie Willett, Nicholas Fight, Hannah Locklear, and Timothy Ledford. They face multiple charges.
But that's not even the most disturbing part. When ICE started pulling back the layers on this operation, they discovered something that nobody saw coming. Over 2,400 border-related crime cases have surged in Harris County alone over the past 18 months.
This was a matter of priorities. We were dedicating approximately $675,000 into staffing this operation, and now we will be able to redirect that salary investment into other local priorities like dealing with our overtime costs inside the jail, into jail operations. We have a staffing issue we need to contend with. And then also there's other priorities such as getting more patrol cars for our deputies and also staffing our Criminal Investigations Bureau. To me,
we're talking about everything from human trafficking and smuggling to identity fraud and organized theft rings, and it's all connected to gaps in local enforcement that allowed these networks to flourish.
Suspects that would choose to travel to meet some of our kids online to have sex with them. We ended up working the operation for I think 3 days and arrested 5 individuals. These suspects chatted with undercover officers online, made plans and deals with who they thought to be our children, then met at predetermined locations to engage in sexual activities with who they thought at the time to be kids. When they arrived at the locations, I'm happy to say they were in for a rude awakening. And they were arrested by police officers with Precinct 4 Constable's Office, our undercover units. They were taken into custody. The agencies that were involved, it's very labor intensive. At some point we had dozens of officers working the operation. Go to the next slide, Lieutenant. These are the 5 suspects that were arrested. And we will send these to your outlets electronically also. You'll have them as soon as this is over with. 2 of them have ICE detainers out. They're wanted by the federal authorities.
So now, everyone is asking, how did this ring operate for so long without being detected? What exactly were these 4 suspects doing? And how many more criminals are still out there using Harris County as their base of operations? So let's start with what we know about these 4 individuals who just got arrested. According to ICE's Enforcement and Removal Operations Division, all 4 suspects entered the United States illegally within the last 3 years, and they immediately settled in Harris County, which wasn't an accident. The first suspect, authorities revealed, had already been deported twice before for aggravated assault and possession, but he managed to cross back into the country and set up operations in Houston's east side.
New information about the criminal history of Ian Roberts, the former superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools.
ICE is laying out a series of weapons and narcotics charges, as well as details on his visa status. ICE says Roberts entered the U.S. as a visitor back in 1994 and was arrested for possessing narcotics 2 years later. He was arrested again in 2020 for possessing a weapon illegally. ICE laid out a timeline of Roberts' visa status as well. It details 2 visas, 4 green card applications, and denials.
The second suspect was flagged by Customs and Border Protection back in 2022 for suspected ties to a cartel-linked smuggling operation, but somehow he slipped through the cracks and made his way to Harris County, where he's been living freely ever since. Now, the third and fourth suspects are even more interesting because they don't have violent criminal records, at least not on paper. But ICE investigators say these two played a different role. They were the coordinators.
They arrested 2 men and took 5 victims of smuggling into custody.
Well, it's too close to home. I didn't know it was going on around here.
They rented properties under fake identities. They managed logistics for moving people and goods across state lines. And they acted as the middlemen between street-level operatives and higher-ups in the criminal network. In other words, they were running a business, and Harris County was their headquarters. Now, you might be wondering, how did ICE finally catch them? Well, it wasn't because local authorities were cooperating. In fact, it was quite the opposite. ICE agents told reporters that they had been tracking these suspects for months, but every time they tried to coordinate with Harris County law enforcement, they hit a wall.
Beginning in 2019, U.S. authorities detected an increase in the distribution of cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl, which was leaving Houston for other cities in the state, such as Galveston, and places as far away as New Orleans, Pensacola, Atlanta, Nashville, and Chicago. At the center of this structure, according to investigations, was an extensive network of local distributors and 2 men close to the cartel leader. One of them was Gerardo Villarreal Martinez, a Mexican-American arrested in 2024. By that time, he had already been identified by Houston authorities as part of a network that included at least 40 people, most of them located in Texas. Wiretaps revealed that Villarreal maintained constant communication with high-level figures within the CJNG's
Harris County's sanctuary policies, which prevent local police from honoring ICE detainers or sharing information about undocumented individuals in custody, meant that even when these suspects were arrested for other crimes, they were released back onto the streets before ICE could intervene. One of the suspects was arrested twice by Houston police for theft and assault, but both times, he was released within hours because Harris County refused to hold him for ICE. So ICE had no choice but to launch their own operation. And after months of surveillance, they moved in and grabbed all 4 suspects in a single coordinated raid across multiple locations in Harris County. But here's where things get really disturbing. When agents searched the properties connected to these 4 suspects, they didn't just find evidence of individual crimes. They found an entire infrastructure. We're talking about forged documents, fake IDs, stolen social security numbers, burner phones, ledgers tracking payments and shipments, and even encrypted devices used to communicate with operatives in other states.
Dozens of federal agents surrounded an apartment building in Chicago's South Shore neighborhood this morning. The area is bracing for a potential military deployment as immigration officials conduct raids. Federal agents at the apartment building were seen wearing military gear. A neighbor said people were screaming, there were loud bangs and pops, and he saw 2 people detained.
This wasn't just 4 guys breaking the law. This was an organized, well-funded criminal enterprise that had been operating in Harris County for years. And these 4 arrests just pulled the curtain back on something much bigger. And the deeper ICE dug, the more connections they found. Phone records tied these suspects to dozens of other individuals across Texas, many of whom are also in the country illegally and working as part of the same network. So now, the big question is, how widespread is this network, and how many crimes have been committed under its watch? According to the latest data released by ICE, Harris County has seen an explosion in border-related criminal cases over the past year and a half, and the numbers are staggering. We're talking about more than 2,400 cases directly tied to individuals who crossed the border illegally and then committed crimes once they got inside the United States.
A story that I told you out of Katy. It is a Katy trafficking case where 2 men are accused of trafficking 2 teenage girls out of a Katy motel. They posted these girls allegedly on an adult escort website and advertised them as a 2-girl special.
Now let's be clear about what these cases include, because this isn't just minor infractions or traffic violations. These are serious criminal offenses. The largest category is human trafficking, with over 600 documented cases involving illegal migrants who were smuggled across the border and then forced into labor or prostitution once they arrived in Harris County.
No, Rashi, not at all. The sheriff says they're seeing more and more human smugglers from Houston, and this is only getting worse.
All right, we're gonna have a bail out.
Human smugglers running from authorities at the Texas border. Tuesday, a 15-year-old from Mexico arrested after this chase in Hidalgo County. 7 illegal migrants apprehended. Then Wednesday, 6 illegal immigrants found packed inside this car in Kinney County, including a 5-year-old girl stuffed in the trunk like trash.
We're a small community, very small. We've got 3,200 people in the whole county. And it's normally a quiet county, not a whole lot goes on here. Now it's gotten so chaotic. We've already had 13 pursuits for the month.
The driver and passenger from Wednesday's human smuggling case, both from Houston.
The majority of the people we're seeing right now that we're catching right now are from the Houston area.
Why is that? Why does it seem like so many smugglers seem to be from Houston?
That's one of the questions we have. I mean, I'm sure it's social media driven, but are they targeting people in Houston? Are they promising, are the people in Houston just more active in this?
We have seized enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the entire United States of America.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott recently creating a new position to oversee security at the border. U.S. Border Patrol last year encountering more than 2 million migrants.
That's always a concern. Trying to keep it out of town, trying to keep it away from the school. So I'm up all night long listening to this in case I have to respond.
The 2 people from Houston now facing human smuggling charges as well as child endangerment.
Then you've got smuggling, which accounts for another 500 plus cases. These aren't small-time dealers carrying personal stashes. We're talking about organized operations moving fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine through Harris County and distributing it across the southern United States.
The DEA says that because of all the focus being put on fighting fentanyl, the cartels are looking to make money where they can, and right now it's with meth. Today, we got a first-hand look at the DEA's latest bust.
These are a couple of examples of the tremendous work that the men and women of DEA are doing out on the streets. This is a crystal methamphetamine seizure. These balls right here are pound quantities of crystal methamphetamine.
The Deputy Special Agent in Charge, Brian Liardo, shows us the loot brought into the DEA's Houston field office shortly before we arrived.
Methamphetamine's become such a problem that this is almost a daily occurrence. This is 55 pounds of crystal methamphetamine.
25 Ziploc bags, each weighing 1 kilo, were supposed to be delivered to dealers, the special agent says. The wholesale value of each bag is about $2,400.
It's highly addictive, and that's why the cartels are pushing it. They want repeat customers. Their greed is what drives it.
The special agent says the U.S. has been able to put a dent in the cartel's fentanyl business this year, causing them to shift their focus toward other products.
The cartels are looking to make money, and they're looking to pivot to the next thing, which would be methamphetamine.
These are videos from the Houston area meth busts in just the past few months. The special agent says drug traffickers are always finding creative ways to smuggle meth, cementing it within concrete blocks, even hiding it in vegetables.
Over 900 pounds that was concealed in a load of green squash. Right? So it was contained within the boxes, not commingled with the squash, but in the boxes themselves, in the sides, and how it was packaged.
Does it ever get frustrating?
Absolutely. Yeah, we all have our moments.
But he says with expert intelligence, the Houston field office is staying one step ahead of what's landing in Houston, much of it destined for places outside of the city.
Houston is perfectly placed on the interstate map for the distribution of narcotics through Houston and to the rest of the United States.
The special agent says each raid makes a difference, always getting them one step closer to the source of the drugs. Although it's unclear if they'll ever stop coming into the city completely, he says agents will keep trying, one bust at a time. In West Houston,
Identity theft and fraud make up another massive chunk, with over 400 cases involving stolen social security numbers, fake IDs, and fraudulent documents used to obtain jobs, housing, and government benefits. And then there's organized theft rings, which have been hitting retail stores, warehouses, and even residential neighborhoods, stealing millions of dollars worth of goods and shipping them back across the border or selling them online.
It's a nationwide problem. Groups of people rushing into business, even jumping over counters to grab whatever they can. Last year, KPRC2's Bryce Newberry reported on HPD arresting members of an organized retail crime ring, stealing tens of thousands worth of items at Bath & Body Works.
How were they operating?
They were walking into the stores, usually taking the bags or the totes, store totes, filling them up with product and walking right out the door with them.
Wes tells me their theft doesn't compare to that of their neighbor Ulta Beauty, a big brand, and according to the National Retail Federation, a popular one that gets these hits regularly. The association also adds that for 2022, there was a $112 billion loss nationwide due to theft.
But here's the pattern that ICE investigators are now highlighting. The vast majority of these criminals aren't just random individuals acting alone. They're part of networks, just like the one these 4 arrested suspects were running. ICE officials explained that these networks operate like franchises. They have recruiters who identify people willing to cross the border illegally. They have smugglers who get them across. And then they have coordinators inside the U.S. who plug them into criminal operations.
Shuttle companies that transported illegal aliens from Tucson to Phoenix, in league with other smugglers. Ultimately, we identified a network of confederated smuggling organizations that extended from Sonora, Mexico, through to Nogales, onto Tucson, into Phoenix, and then distributed aliens literally to the far corners of the United States, places such as New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. 5 shuttle companies have been shut down, and multiple smuggling rings have been stopped in their tracks. We've already seized over 30 vehicles in this operation, and I expect that number to grow considerably over the coming days. This operation reflects the shift in our strategy and approach to Southwest Border Enforcement. Today, we are not seeking to prosecute a given smuggler, a given shuttle company, a given driver. We are seeking to take down an entire alien smuggling industry, networks that are operating from Mexico through Arizona to the rest of the United States. This focus isn't going to change. We will continue to attack transnational crime along the border.
And Harris County, according to investigators, has become one of the most attractive hubs for these networks. And there are 3 main reasons why. First, Houston's massive population makes it easy to disappear. With over 2 million people in Harris County alone, criminal networks can operate under the radar without drawing attention. Second, the county's proximity to the border makes it a natural waypoint for smuggling routes. Anything coming up from Mexico through South Texas passes through or near Harris County before heading east or north. And third, and this is the part that's causing the most controversy, Harris County's sanctuary policies have created an enforcement vacuum that these networks are actively exploiting.
We're a key part of this. With the help of our federal partners, we've arrested over 3,000 criminal aliens with Operation Midway Blitz. And thanks to our partnership with the Indiana State Police, ICE is proud to say we are able to arrest 223 criminal aliens in this roadway operation. Our partnership with the state police is amazing, and there are way too many times elected officials try to put a wedge between law enforcement. But this is the key of law enforcement working together and being partners. It's unconscionable that illegal aliens have CDLs and driving 18-wheelers across our nation. Just because some sanctuary cities want to gamble with motorist lives and let these dangerous people on the roads driving dangerous vehicles.
ICE agents say that criminal organizations are literally advising people to settle in Harris County because they know that local law enforcement won't cooperate with federal immigration authorities. In fact, some of the seized communications from the recent arrests included messages where coordinators specifically told new arrivals to avoid certain counties in Texas, but encouraged them to stay in Harris County because it was safer.
May everyone who goes out make it home safely. She's a director of an NGO which aims to warn residents where possible raids are taking place. When we're on patrol, we're always live, and people know where we're going. We go out to patrol the streets. We also have a team of volunteers who help us. Each one of them goes out at a certain time. She uses Facebook to communicate with her 171,000 followers and shares their intel on the group's page. People write on the post, this side is clear, that side is clean. Agents are here, don't go this way. And they let us know what it's like out there.
So now, with over 2,400 cases and counting, ICE is calling this a full-blown crisis, and they're putting the blame squarely on local policies that they say are making it impossible to stop these networks. But how exactly did Harris County's sanctuary policies create this perfect storm? The county stopped honoring ICE detainer requests, which means that even when ICE identifies someone in county jail as being in the country illegally and asks the jail to hold them for pickup, Harris County refuses. They also implemented policies preventing officers from asking about immigration status during routine interactions, and they cut off most communication channels between county law enforcement and federal immigration officials.